Kia ora, talofa, namaste, haere mai, and welcome to this week, Matariki week, the start of a new year and a new cycle here in Aotearoa. So big it up to all the Aotearoa mandem and all the wahine around Aotearoa, loving Aotearoa, and all the Aotearoa sport, which the niche case dabbles in. We like to dip our toes in a bit of Aotearoa sport every once in a while, and we deliver podcasts. The Niche Case Variety Show is today on a Tuesday. The Niche Cast is on a Thursday. And prior to the Variety Show, we record a Patreon podcast for our Patreon whānau. Patreon is the best way to support the Niche Case and our Aotearoa sporting content. Prior to this, we recorded the Patreon podcast, touched on some Blackcaps cricket stuff over in England, touched on some county cricket stuff, and also got some last minute thoughts from the wildcard about Aotearoa All Whites facing Costa Rica for World Cup glory, or at least the chance, the sniff, the whiff of a World Cup, which for Aotearoa football is glorious in itself. We are from the Niche Case, the niche-case.com, big Aotearoa sports yarns and content to be found on our website. Check that out. Lots of Kiwi NRL spotlights. Done Peter Hiku this week, done Morgan Harper this week, done Sean Johnson this week. There's all sorts of All Whites football content. You can recap Stephen Adams' NBA season, whatever you want. You can look up White Ferns squads. You can look up Football Ferns squads. You can look up all the regular niche case sporting beats that we cover. Head up the website, the niche-case.com, and check it all out on a daily basis. And we also deliver an email banger. Every Monday and Friday, we send out our email dispatch with fresh, current eventy Aotearoa sporting content, as well as all the links to the podcast and all the links to the big yarns on our website. Sign up, thenichecase.substack.com. All these links are in the description box. And the email is fantastic because it gets you off social media and you get all the Niche Case content straight to your email inbox. So you can just check your email and the Niche Case is right there twice a week for you. That's what we do. We show up, best ability is availability, and that's what we're here to do. But also try and enlighten folks and get us all off social media a wee bit through the email banger. Chock-a-block show to start today, wildcard. But first, we need some mindfulness. Deep breath here. Just taking some time. It's been a fucking ridiculous morning, and I need some mindfulness wildcards, so please help me. Please.
Yeah, how about some mindfulness from Japanese ancient Zen master Dojin, who said, if you are unable to find the truth right where you are, where else do you expect to find it?
That's actually quite similar to the one last week.
A little bit,
variety show, because we didn't do the niche cage because I was sick, but we did do a variety show, and it was about the skies might change, but your soul doesn't.
Soul doesn't, yeah.
Or something like that. And that feels similar to what you just said there, because everything starts with right where you are. You don't need to move or go somewhere else to, find what you're looking for. You can just sit right where you are and focus in on that.
Yeah, and I think it's quite easy to take as well. If you're unable to find the truth right where you are, I think it's quite easy to use like where as a where or when or who or what, or like swap that word out for anything else. Like if you're unable to find the truth right where you are, like not just where you are physically, but also like where you are right now in your life or in your spiritual journey or whatever, or whatever age you happen to be, or it's any aspect of your identity kind of thing. Like it's not these other things aren't the stuff that is stopping you from seeking and attaining truth, right? It's these other things are all, it's all just part of the same cosmic gumbo. The in joke there, but whatever, don't have time to explain it. And I also like that it's almost a little bit of judgment at the end, where he's like, well, where else do you expect to find it? Get off your ass and do it. Like, do the job, do the work.
You silly bugger, where else do you expect to find it? Radio, let's get into some Aotearoa sport wildcard. Deliver your finest take that you can here on Tuesday, the 14th of June, 2022.
Yeah, slightly unusual take with this. I'm just going to list 31 countries that all have something in common. Qatar, Germany, Denmark, Brazil. France is another one. Also Belgium, Croatia, Spain, Serbia, England, Switzerland, Netherlands, Argentina, Iran, South Korea, Japan, Saudi Arabia, Ecuador, Uruguay, Canada, Ghana, Senegal, Portugal, Poland, Tunisia, Morocco, Cameroon, United States, Mexico, Wales, Australia, as of a few hours ago. Those are the 31 countries who have qualified for the FIFA World Cup in Qatar at the end of the year, like in November, I think, whenever it is. 31 countries out of 32, all locked in for the Men's World Cup. Tomorrow morning, we find out whether New Zealand or Costa Rica will join them. The 31 out of 32 are locked in. One more spot remaining. The All Whites are up for it. 6 o'clock kickoff, I believe it is, on Wednesday morning. It's not a bad time to be watching football, all things considered. It's an absolutely enormous game. And frankly, I find it hard to get my head around any kind of take around it. I just have to highlight the event that's going on and the enormity of it, and the kind of company that the All Whites are trying to put themselves amongst. So if we do get there, I think our group is Japan, Germany, and Spain, which is about as tough as it gets. But that's the joy of it. That's why you get to a World Cup, to test yourself against the very best in the world. So fizzing, mate, fizzing for that one.
I'm going to break down the All Blacks squad for their upcoming international fixtures. No, I'm not. Who gives a fuck? What I am going to do, wildcard, is something far more interesting. And I'm going to state that we should reserve judgment on all Aotearoa Warriors matters for the rest of the season. You can watch them, you can enjoy them, you can hate them, but just reserve any other judgments about the Warriors as an organization. The owner, like, why do you care about the owner? Like, he's obviously under the pump. He's stressed. He's trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. But that's the whole Warriors organization. That's the whole club. The players, individual players, don't assess their performance. Like, they're just in this shitty situation, and we should just all reserve all judgment on the Warriors and players like Sean Johnson, until they are operating from an even playing field. And yep, that's an excuse. It's also the reality. No other NRL team is starting from where the Warriors are starting for each game, let alone the season. And they'll return to Aotearoa. They'll play a game at Mount Smart, and they'll try and finish out the season the best as they can. But as far as judgments on the future of the Warriors, how they're standing, the strength of the club, the players they've got, well, let's just wait till next season until they're operating from the same level playing field as every other club in the NRL. And I don't know, there's a whole like Kiwi NRL takeover that you can dive into as well. Like, you don't need to care about the Warriors. It's all good. Like, Joey Manu's pretty fucking good. Joseph Tapane's pretty good. Aotearoa Kiwis are on fire, let alone the Usos or Dokos who have played grassroots footy in Aotearoa, who come from the junior club around the corner. There's far more to the Kiwi NRL takeover than just Aotearoa Warriors, and there's far more to Aotearoa Rugby League than the Warriors. No judgment, but they're not good. They're not shit. They're just trying to stay afloat in rather extreme adversity. Statistical glory here, wildcard. Drop an insight revolving around a statistic. What do you got?
Yeah, I've been thinking a little bit about Kane Williamson and Tom Latham with regards Blackcaps test captaincy, because I don't know if you saw this. I think it was before the first day of the second test, Blackcaps versus England, and old mate Simon Dool just threw out an absolutely baffling idea about how, I mean, this Dooley's good for a weird take now and then, but this one was a little bit extreme, where he said that he reckons that Kane Williamson ought to hand the captaincy to Tom Latham on a permanent basis. I think that's right up there on the weird takes basis. And I'm going to explain why. I know we've seen this elsewhere. It's been a little bit of a trend. Like Joe Root, Virat Kohli, Steve Smith, Kane Williamson, the big four, right? Well, they were all captains. They were all the best batters for their team. Well, who's still captaining from that crew? Only Kane Williamson. But like Joe Root quit because he hated the pressure and was under immense pressure and plays like 20 test matches a year. And yeah, understandable. It was like weighing him down emotionally. Virat Kohli just got to the point where his batting sucks. Like he still has not scored a test ton since November 2019. That's why he's no longer the captain. And Steve Smith isn't the captain because he oversaw a bloody sandpaper cheating scandal. Like, there's all like a unique example in each one of those. Like Kane Williamson does not look like a man who's breaking under the pressure like Joe Root did. He doesn't look sad or like he's carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. He's also not a cheat, so can't compare that to the Steve Smith thing. And then also look at his batting average since he's been captain, 58.07. That's better than his absolutely incredible career batting rate. Like he's been a better batter as a captain. So you can't compare the Virat Kohli situation to him either. Like all three of those, nice straight bat guided down to or nice straight but angled bat guided down to third man for a single, and all three of those counts. He's taken charge of 39 games with the Blackcaps and has won 22 of them. That's actually second all time for Blackcaps test victories as captain. Stephen Fleming had 28, so he's 6 behind, but he's done that in half as many test matches as Flem did. And Williamson has a win-loss ratio of 2.44. So 2.44 wins for every loss. That's 22 wins to 9 losses. And I think 8 draws he's had as well. Is far and away the best win-loss ratio of any Blackcaps captain pretty much ever. The team's test batting average is 37.65 under Williamson's leadership. That's also easy, the highest number for any Blackcaps captain who has like captain for more than one test as skipper. We know that like Southey, Bolt, Wagner in particular, bowling averages are all much better under Williamson. They're not under Williamson. And he also won a Test championship as captain as well. So chuck that one on the thing. I'm not exactly not exactly sure what like Dooley thinks is going wrong with Williamson's captaincy. There's not a lot there to actually complain about. He has missed time with injuries and illness recently, but those are external factors. That's nothing to do with captaincy. As for Tom Latham, now if we talk about the idea that Kane Williamson's been burdened by the responsibility of being a captain, well, that actually looks rather ridiculous when you compare his average as captain of 58 to Tom Latham, who as captain has scored, and this is his 9th test match that he's been in charge for, the one that's going on currently, has scored 435 runs at an average of 31.07 as captain, which is well below his career average of 41, so 10 runs short of what he normally does. And that actually includes a pretty massive 253 that he scored, I think it was against Bangladesh earlier in the summer, without which, like if you take that innings out of the mix, that's more than half of the runs that he scored as captain. Take that one out, and his batting average as captain is probably in the mid-teens. That 253 is actually the only time that Tom Latham has passed 50 as the captain of the Blackcaps in 15 test innings. He has 4 wins, 4 losses, and we'll see how day 5 goes in this 9th test match. He is a good fill-in. He is a good captain. And you do got to spare a thought for him, because the fact that like whenever he captains, it means that there's no Kane Williamson in the batting order. Like he only captains when Williamson doesn't play, so the batting order is automatically weaker when Latham is captaining. But like there's just no dramas there. There's no situation. There's no scenario in which we can say that Latham is a better, more effective captain than Williamson, just because all the other countries are doing it. Like just got to get on the front foot to that idea, because other teams, as we know, they copy the Blackcaps. The Blackcaps don't copy other teams. So I think whatever trend they're all doing in, you can guarantee the Blackcaps don't have to follow that.
Simon Doull, fantastic captain. Like just one of the best captains.
Yeah, there you go. Great decision maker.
Actually might be one of the better like commentators we've ever had.
Yeah,
all due respect to Simon Doull.
Yeah.
Not sure about his captaincy. My stat here, Wildcard, is just an update on Lydia Ko. Every week, I'm dropping Lydia Ko's stats at the moment just because she is on fire. She had a tied 4th finish over the weekend in her most recent LPGA tournament event. So her last 4 tournaments, she's finished tied 3rd, tied 12th, 5th, and tied 4th, which has resulted, for those who are worried about other people's money, that has resulted in almost, we'll say roughly 550 grand, probably US, over the last 4 tournaments. Lydia Ko is 3rd in the CME Globe rankings, which is like the season-long rankings. She is 4th in total prize money. She is still 1st in putting average. She is still 1st in total sand saves. So that basically means Lydia Ko is the best putter on the LPGA Tour, and she is the best at getting out of a bunker as well. She is 2nd in putts per greens regulation and greens in regulation. And yeah, she is fantastic. And she is churning out a level of consistency that hasn't really been the case over the course of her career. Like, definitely my time covering her, which really started when she was going through adversity. And she has had higher moments. She has like had more wins, but that has come with more volatility. She has she missed cuts last year. She has not missed the cut list this year. She has not finished worse than tied 25th. And she now has 3 top 10 finishes in her last 4 tournaments. And she's also the best short game player on the LPGA Tour, which I haven't done deep research, wildcard, but her string of four results most recently might be the best on the LPGA Tour. And it puts her among the best golfers in the world. Blokes or wahine. So that's what Lydia Ko's up to. Another tournament coming up this week and another tournament the week after that. So I'm sure I'll be dropping some more Lydia Ko stats as long as she is firing. Deep in the Mangroves wildcard, I believe you've got an update on our favorite young footballer. No, I don't know. Bill Tuiloma's definitely risen up the ranks. We got Kakache. There's some other blokes, Alex Grieve has become a factor. There's a lot of decent young footballers, but we are the sons of Sarpi. So it goes without saying. Sarpreet Singh, what have you got?
Yes, the sons of Sarpi, old superstar Preet Singh. So he's found himself in a few headlines recently, because initially he was going to go to Werder Bremen and they were talking about this as a done deal. And then a couple of days later, he was no longer going to Werder Bremen, and that transfer was off. So deep in the mangroves, got to just break that one down for you all. So initially what was going on is so Sarpreet Singh has 1 year left on his Bayern Munich contract, right? There've been 3 different Bayern head coaches since he's been there. He played a little bit for them in his first season, but second season went on loan to Nuremberg, didn't work. Just got injured and didn't get picked a lot. Stylistically, it was a rough one for him. They didn't really have a place in their formation for him. He goes back to Bayern midway through, finishes out the season with the reserves. They add an extra year to his initial 3-year contract to say, like, this was we'll do this second year all over again, basically. So the third year becomes the second year, which is what we just had. He goes to Jan Regensburg, also in the second tier of German football. This time he's fantastic. He's brilliant. They have a place for him on the left wing and he plays awesome. He scores a bunch of goals, sets up even more. Does get injured in February, though. It's the pelvic bone inflammation thing going on, and that keeps him out for the last sort of 40% of the season or so. Also means he misses the All Whites, all the All White stuff that's happened since, basically, the qualifying in Oceania, and he's going to miss the playoff. That leaves him in I don't think that really changed anything from the season that we just saw. That still left him in a position where it's like, well, we've seen him in the second tier and he's good. Like, when he's in the right position, played well, he's good. But that doesn't set you up to go make the Bayern Munich first team all of a sudden. Like, you still want another year to steady yourself, probably at a Bundesliga team like top flight Germany. So that was the trick. But with 1 year left on his contract, it's like, does Bayern, after this many, like 2 coaches have come and gone since the one who signed him, it's like, do they see a place in the first team for him? Probably not at this point. He's 23. But like, he's obviously set himself up for a career with what he's done there. So it's a matter of just like, does he go out on loan to a Bundesliga club? Does he go permanently somewhere? Does he does he have to do it again in the second tier if he can't find a Bundesliga team that'll A, sign him, and B, give him good minutes kind of thing? Well, he found one, because Werder Bremen were kind of a perfect scenario. Like, Werder Bremen got relegated 2 years ago, so they were in the second tier playing against Sarpreet Singh. He missed the second game with injury. But the first time back in December, he played against Werder Bremen, scored a goal, got an assist. They lost 3-2, but he was involved in both goals against them. Nice and impressive. Werder Bremen also, very conveniently, coincidentally, the team he played his first Bundesliga game for when he was with Bayern Munich back in 2019, I think it was. Also conveniently, and not coincidentally in this case, the club that Winston Rufer won a Bundesliga title with back in the day is like an absolute club legend, played 170 odd times for them. And he remains, I would imagine, a person who, if he speaks, then they listen. And Sarpreet Singh happened to get a bit of a start in Winston Rufer's academy way back in the day. He knows him very well. And I would imagine Rufer probably played a little part in the Bayern Munich deal to some extent as well. Well, here you go, Werder Bremen, everything lining up perfectly. They were relegated, they were second tier, but they got promoted, finished second, so they're back in the Bundesliga. Everything is in perfect alignment for Sarpreet Singh, except for that hip injury, the pelvic bone inflammation or whatever. Danny Hay knows the actual technical term of it. He mentions it in press conferences. I can't remember what it is, but that's the only thing that wasn't quite in alignment here. And unfortunately, it's quite far out of alignment. Like he went over, they had agreed a 4-year contract by the sounds of it. They were going to pay a transfer fee of about like 350,000 euros, which is good coin for a guy who was, playing second division last year and 1 year left on his contract. But they had a look at him, and it wasn't actually the medical that he failed. It's like before they got to the medical, before they did the full checkup, it's like, let's just look specifically at this injury you've got. They did that. And they determined that he's probably going to miss another 3 to 4 months, which means all of preseason, probably the start of next season. Good news on one front, because it does mean if the All Whites make the World Cup, he could potentially be back and ready to go by then. Like that should be outside that time frame, nicely enough. But also, if he's going to miss preseason, he's going to miss the start of season. They have just decided that's a bit of a deal breaker for them. And unfortunately, because they've obviously shown big interest in him, they're obviously keen on it. That's cool. And you can imagine that once he gets fit and healthy, they might well come back in and try sign him then, once that's all sorted. The only thing is 3 to 4 months takes him past the end of the transfer window. So he would have to wait until January. So he is just going to go back to Bayern Munich in the meantime. Like, as to what this means to him, hang out at Bayern, use some world-class fitness facilities, get himself back up and running, maybe a couple games with the reserves just to get some minutes in the legs, potentially a showcase like spotlight for himself at the World Cup with the All Whites. If everything works out perfectly, he's fit in time and makes that squad and plays good minutes. That's the best case scenario, in which case maybe Werder Bremen might not be able to afford him anymore if he ups the price tag enough with a few goals against Germany, the German national team there. But this just means a pump of the brakes. Like, it's frustrating because everything was set up perfectly for him. It was the exact kind of next progression you want to see in his career, but he's injured and you can't do anything when you're injured. So you're basically like, he's just going to have to wait it out, ride it out, do the time, get his levels back up, allow the inflammation to ease off and let the injury heal itself naturally. And then when that's done, we reassess, get back into it. And I suspect in January he'll be able to find a decent move, but it's just going to have to wait until then. The sports are a little bit cruel like that. Sometimes you don't really have a choice in these matters necessarily. And when you're injured, you're injured. So that's the case of Sarpreet Singh. He's injured, just got to ride it out.
Big things happening in county cricket for Aotearoa as well. We got a T20 Blast and we got county cricket, both of which feature Kiwis. You would have heard that Rachin Ravindra scored a double 100, and you would have heard that Glenn Phillips went large with 100 himself. I found out in the Patreon podcast prior to recording that we do have Will Williams, Canterbury seamer. He is playing for Lancashire. He took 2 wickets at 1.75 RPO. Fantastic little start there for Will Williams. Very good Canterbury seamer. Glenn Phillips, he scored his runs against Jacob Duffy, Canterbury seamer. And that is quite interesting because Jacob Duffy, he's playing for Kent, and he was also bowling alongside Matt Quinn, who was also from Aotearoa. So there's a couple of Kiwis in county cricket, and this is part of a very busy time in England where you got T20 Blast happening, and in between T20 Blast fixtures, you've got county championship games. Rachin Ravindra, big double 100 for Durham. Couple of notes here. Fantastic knock for Rachin Ravindra, his first real stint in county cricket. It is in Division 2, which is the weaker county division, and Durham had no issues scoring runs. Obviously, Rachin Ravindra, 217 opening the batting. The Durham number 8 and number 9, basically bowlers, both finished 100 not out, 103 not out, and 100 not out. 5 batters past 50 for Durham in that innings, 642 for 7 declared. So fantastic knock for Ravindra, great experience. Not something that I am hanging my hat on as like Rachin Ravindra has really arrived. He should be a test batter. He made the most of a favorable batting situation, and I mean, 2 of his bowlers also scored hundreds. So we just need to keep that in mind. Not sure what's going to happen with him at Durham, whether he stays on for more games or whether that was kind of just a one-game wonder situation. Durham did get great service out of Will Young last winter, back-to-back hundreds as well. So if you're a Kiwi batter looking to score runs, go play for Durham. Glenn Phillips is a wee bit more interesting in my mind. He scored a century for Gloucestershire, 125, and he was the only player in that team to score a century. Jacob Duffy did take 3 wickets, 4.57 RPO. Matt Quinn didn't take any wickets. And Glenn Phillips is already bowling. He's bowled 13 overs as well. So Rachin Ravindra hasn't bowled yet for Durham. Glenn Phillips has bowled for Gloucestershire. And Glenn Phillips leading all Gloucestershire T20 batters in the T20 Blast. He's the only batter for Glocks to score over 200 runs, 201 runs, 33 average, and a strike rate of 133. Also bowled 8 overs, 3 wickets, RPO of 7.62. So basically, Glenn Phillips continues his all-round trend. And that trend is going straight to the full moon, the Matariki moon, because he's scoring runs, he's taken wickets, T20 Blast and County Championship. And that sets up curiosity around what Rachin Ravindra is going to do as well. So there is the Blackcaps versus England Test Series. Also, this time of year, Kiwis love going over to England and dominating. Happened last year in the T20 Blast and County Championship. Happening again this year. Can't really say like, yeah, Aotearoa is so much better than England at cricket, right? Like that's what I was saying last year, and it was true last year. Not quite as true this year, but there are still some really solid signs as well. Question time here, Wildcard. I'm going to ask you, mad respect, you know, obviously Aotearoa, we're full of different cultures, we're full of different backgrounds, and we love everyone, and we want everyone to love themselves and be happy. My question to you revolves around 2 hearty Kiwi Indians. We are sons of Sarpi, aka the sons of Harpi. So one of them is Sarpreet Singh, the other one is Rachin Ravindra. If you're going to buy stock in one of those players, and in 5 years' time we're going to sell that stock, who are you investing in, Sarpreet Singh or Rachin Ravindra? Given you provided an interesting update there with Singh, bit injury prone, battling a fairly substantial injury. Rachin Ravindra, he's encountered some Test cricket adversity and he's fallen out of the Test team, now replaced by Michael Bracewell. Who are you investing in?
Well, I do think within 5 years, Ravindra will probably be a locked-on Blackcaps Test squad member in whatever role. It might be as an opener or it might be as a middle order spinner who bats nicely, as we've seen him used so far. Like that's the case, I think, is based on all like selection trends and whatever. Sarpreet Singh is already that though for the All Whites. Like he's already there, a first choice player, a key player, one who I think they're going to miss a lot tomorrow morning. And I know he's not likely to crack the first team at Bayern Munich, But I still think if you can set yourself up and have like a 5 to 10 year career playing Bundesliga football with a club like Werder Bremen or someone in a similar kind of capacity, maybe not in Germany, maybe in one of the other leagues, I don't know, but he's still in a position where within 5 years he might well be well established as a player, top flight, decent thing, might play Champions League one day, I don't know. I got to go with Sarpreet Singh.
Fantastic. Your question.
Well, here's a quick one first. Who would be your preferred Warriors permanent coach?
I think Shane Flanagan could be a good option, but my two favorite contenders are Christian Wolff and Josh Hannay. So Christian Wolff has been a career coach. He's coached at schoolboys level up in Townsville. He coached Cowboys under 20s. He's coached reserve grade teams. He's been an NRL assistant coach, and he's now a Super League coach in England. He's also got a hearty connection with Tonga, having coached them to their success. So he connects well with the Polynesian players, good connection to Adam Whanua-Blake, but it's his career coach background that really is attractive to me, someone who has worked with every level of player. And we've seen around the world, different sports, being able to connect with the role players and the superstars, hold everyone accountable. That's extremely valuable. Josh Hannay, I learned that he was part of the Queensland coaching staff, which also featured Cameron Smith, Jonathan Thurston and Billy Slater. But it was Josh Hannay who did a lot of the grinding mahi, like a lot of the just obviously Billy Slater, Cameron Smith, Jonathan Thurston, they'll do some tactics and they're good with the motivation and leading a Queensland origin team. Josh Hannay is an NRL assistant coach. He's been an interim coach twice, once with the Cowboys, once with the Sharks. And I think he's like an undercover low-key contender to keep an eye on because he, by all accounts, players love him and he's done a good job at every stop he's been thrown into, because you don't choose to be an interim coach. That kind of gets, thrown at you.
Yeah.
Another question to you. One sentence to describe your All Whites vibe as of Tuesday midday.
Good
start.
One sentence. Yeah. I 2 words will probably do. I'm just going to go with like cautiously optimistic.
Lovely jubbly. Yeah, it's just good sentence. Cautiously optimistic. Speaks for itself.
It's not a sentence, but it's 2 words. It says what it needs to say.
I would say you're a man of few words, but
I'm not normally. So
you love a yarn. So
if I stretch that out into a proper sentence, I'd add in something about the hype of the occasion as well, and how good all that's going to be. Just like the event itself, just the game. Not even thinking about beyond that. Just like the game itself, 1 spot remaining for the World Cup. That's massive. Going to be
there you go. There's a paragraph.
Everywhere.
There's a paragraph.
Yeah. There's just lots of ands and commas. It's a sentence and a paragraph. And then the other question I had for you was, so Kane Williamson presumably is going to be recovered from COVID by the time the 3rd test comes around. He's the captain. He's the best batter. Maybe not in his best form at the moment, but I don't think that. I think he's a guy who transcends form anyway, so I don't have a drama there. But who do you drop to get him into the lineup?
Ajaz Patel. Oh, he's already out of the mix.
Already happened.
I'll go. Maybe right now you just go Daryl Mitchell ahead of Henry Nicholls.
Yeah,
like that might
That's
just.
What I was leaning to myself as well.
I don't want to fiddle too much with the openers, and yeah, I don't know. Daryl Mitchell is just undeniable. Like any sport, you want players commanding selection. You want them demanding selection. And I think that's what we've got for Aotearoa Kiwis. Like all the best players are commanding selection. It's not just, are you playing? It's, are you playing well? And it's the same thing with All Whites. Like these sports, it used to just be who's eligible, who's available, you're in the team, you're first 11, you're starting. Whereas right now, it's, are you scoring runs? Are you playing well? Are you playing your career best form? And I think that's what Daryl Mitchell's doing. And he's making an undeniable case for future selection, which is for the betterment of the Blackcaps, because then Henry Nicholls scores runs and so on and so forth. Not quite working out for Ajaz Patel, but competition.
He'll always have Mumbai.
He's got the Mumbai Magic. I just want to throw up one jam here, Wildcard Musical Jam, another song from Te Kahu. Keep referring to these jams because they are quintessential raise your mana. Let me just call it raise your mana music. Channeling the energy of Aotearoa, channeling the vibe and the mana that we should all, I believe, be working towards. Te Kahu, she's got a new song, Te Piri. All of these songs are, big upping Aotearoa, obviously in the format of Waiata, and they just serve as a fantastic connection to Aotearoa, to the land, and the history of Aotearoa as well. Musical jam for yourself?
Nothing much. It's been a weird week where I went through all the new releases and was like, I don't know that I want to listen to any of this stuff. But it's still definitely going through that Angel Olsen album that I mentioned last week, which I still think is one of the best things I've heard so far this year. There is an album by Mary Lattimore and Paul Sukina, which is pretty cool. I don't know who Paul Sukina is, but Mary Lattimore is sort of like a harp player, kind of jazzy, folksy kind of things, very instrumental. That one's quite good for like a late night altered states kind of music, if you know what I mean. There's a couple recommendations there on recent stuff.
That's the variety show. Big Aotearoa sports stuff happening right now. We'll be back with another episode of the Niche Cast on Thursday, which conveniently comes after the end of the Blackcaps test, after the end of this All Whites World Cup qualification, and whatever else pops up in Aotearoa sport as well. So if you are looking for non-All Blacks Aotearoa sporting content, we got a shitload of that coming at you. So big it up to yourself. Big it up to Aotearoa. Raise your mana. Kia kaha. Stay beautiful. Chit-chir.